not a psychologist either, but
Oh, okay.
no, not quite that. But I know like Idra actually, back when StarCraft 2 was the esport and on EG, he actually went to like a sports therapist, I think, or something along those lines. And he said it really helped him. But that was a long-winded way to say that we're getting into the game. And Lambo is in a tough spot right now, so best of luck to him. But HeRoMaRinE spawning in the bottom right is just usually he's got his number.
And his opponent. Hopefully he can bounce back. I'm rooting for him so much because seeing this guy on top form is so exciting. Representing the Shopify Rebellion, it is Lambo in the red. And I gotta say, I know that, yeah, StarCraft 2 is not the king of the esports anymore. In my heart, it always will be. But I will say if there was one team he was going to be on that would help him out with that the most, probably going to be either Shopify Rebellion or Team Liquid. And I think Shopify Rebellion, probably the best one. You've got TLO, understands the competitive mindset so much more than I would say really anyone could in terms of managing a team, because of course he's a former pro. And Toby loves StarCraft 2 so much, I wouldn't be surprised if he did shell out for like a sports therapist or something to that respect.
Yeah. I actually think it is called a sports psychologist, by the way, the more I thought about it. Okay. So, yeah. Sports therapist would be like, injuries to the body. And sports psychologist is the real high-ranking stuff. Lots of people think it's just, a bunch of hooey and voodoo and stuff still, but it's definitely got some merit. I think you're right, though. TLO is not just someone who's been very on point about his players, like physical problems, like wrist issues, and making sure, like, they recently all got the Herman Miller chairs instead of typical gamer chairs. But I know he's also someone who's like looked into psychology, and specifically when it comes to competition. So you're right. But will it happen? I don't know. Is it actually what Lambo needs? I also don't know. I am not trying to prescribe Lambo anything. I am not a doctor. But I hope that whatever it is that's keeping him back from keeping that top 4 skill level does get fixed.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that, like, it's so difficult to solve that yourself, because StarCraft 2 is kind of a lonely game. You don't have teammates that you can, like, in-game just bounce ideas off of, and, like, there to kind of rally your spirits when they're down. And I think that's one of the big downfalls of StarCraft 2, but, like, yeah, that's a whole other discussion. Very fast third command center out of HeRoMaRinE.
Yep.
Probably going to be Cloak Banshees behind us. He loves his Cloak Banshee.
Could just be. I mean, it's a very safe opener that still has that macro behind it. And I think there was a moment where, like, 3cc instead of thinking about Barracks is very popular. I actually kind of give that more of a Clem vibe, Clem build than HeRoMaRinE. And I think that meta's kind of come and gone. I swear for like 3 weeks it was the only build that was being done. But now we're back to a meta where, yeah, Hellion Banshee feels like 80% of the games. 2cc or 3cc.
Yeah, it's honestly it's so good. Like, Cloak Banshees are, I know that they ebb and flow in effectiveness, but I feel like I never see them, completely flub. Like, they're all so good, and they ruin so many options for Zerg. Like, you can't really all in a Cloak Banshee player. Like, it's not gonna happen. Unless, like, the Cloak Banshee player really, really messes up on their scouting or something, but it gives you all the tools you need to defend. By the way, Lambo did get supply blocked a little bit at 44. Could just be shades of, like, that, struggle a little bit.
Maybe.
I don't know.
It's unfortunate. I didn't even notice, but now you brought it out, it's kind of like, that's kind of what I was bringing up. Like, you never really have to focus on mechanical problems when it comes to these pros. That's what makes it like a different type of joy to watch than people like in Gold or Platinum League, because it is mostly about strategy. But yeah, Lambo's actually been more of a player lately that I've actually been pointing out, like, okay, banking 1,000 minerals is not good. Being supply blocked for 30 seconds is not good. And that might just be him trying to figure out new ways, new journeys to the same destination, and he's kind of just like ironing out the kinks type of thing. Or it might just be even, weirdly enough, a couple of nerfs against a guy who's been beating him almost every time they've gone up against each other. I don't know, but it's something to look out for in this particular game, especially if he goes for just pure Ling Baneling, no mutas, no hydras. He's definitely not doing roaches this game, even though it is Blackburn, because that is where I've seen the big inject issues, the macro issues.
Yeah, I feel personally attacked right now. Floating 1,000 minerals, getting supply blocked. I was like, my ears are burning. Yeah, no, you are right. Like, for the most part, we don't have to worry about that with these pro players. Like, that's the exception, not the rule. And it's always a little bit painful when we see that kind of sparking up. We are going to be seeing HeRoMaRinE. I like this little bit of creep poop on the top side for providing vision to this top base. This might actually be a cancel, though. Queens are going to take a little while to get over here.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that's kind of like the first things we can expect from Banshees. Is that, if they do something, it's typically canceling like a brand new fourth. And that's exactly where HeRoMaRinE had headed to, so it's in a way inevitable. Lambo just did not know it was heading in that direction as fast as it was. He's also been dealing with these Hellions, which are actually clearing up creep, not just staying surface level around the slow zones. They're actually dipping in and bothering him, basically. That's the Wombo combo of Hellion Banshee in the right hands. Of course, in the right Zerg hands, it can still look very poor. And I think that's one of the reasons that we saw it fall off, was that it wasn't working to the Terran's expectation. But now it's back in full swing, and in this particular game, it's getting a lot of damage done.
Yeah, especially on Blackburn, creep is so important. Like, if you ever get pushed back towards your natural and tanks can start sieging up there, God, is that ever an uncomfortable situation to be in. The other thing to consider is it's really important, I feel, for Zerg to take these rocks down in the middle of the map. And if you don't have the creep spread or map control to be able to do that, it makes engaging through the middle so much more difficult.
Lambo didn't see these marine drops. He was dealing with the Hellions. Oh, they unloaded in the perfect place. And just coincidentally, where the Queens were still stationed trying to spread that creep. That is a very disruptive loss for the Zerg to lose their creep spread Queens all in one fell swoop.
And he didn't lose a single Marine right there. He lost 3 Queens, an Overseer, and an Overlord, and keeps every single Marine alive. This is just cooking right now. Like, HeRoMaRinE is cruising. He even targets down a Bane, saves all the Marines again, and then just loads back up. He's just on top of it. And now he's going to micro in the middle of the map, keeping these Hellions alive, getting a few pickoffs there.
He's become a very fast player. Like, I think in particular the last 6 months, I've been more and more impressed with HeRoMaRiNE's speed and found myself comparing him more to Clem, because I think HeRoMaRiNE was foundationally very solid, strategically very solid. Choices, it was all solid, but it wasn't something that I was like gasping and thinking, my God, this guy is the next coming of StarCraft 2 perfection, blah, blah, blah. But nowadays, it's more like that. You just watch these TDZs for Clem and now HeRoMaRiNE, and you're just like, I know for a fact I will never be this fast. I will never make all these right decisions in such a succinct manner. It's just never gonna happen.
Oh, that Widow Mine. 8 kills. Wasn't as bad as I actually thought it was gonna be. And this does get cleaned up. Lambo, he's still doing an okay job here. His creep has been kind of neutered a little bit. And HeRoMaRiNE's doing a good job of keeping them back. It always seems like whenever these two play, the creep battle, like, we usually would end up with like 50 dead tumors by the end of the game. It's crazy.
I will say also that Lambo, as far as I've seen, has not been making those same macro mistakes that I was talking about earlier. When you go for Ling Baneling, it is especially crucial to have the injects consistently and macro hatcheries, and not just macro hatcheries, but your actual like 4th and 5th base timings become even more important, as that's literally your mechanics, your macro. So the fact that he is keeping the minerals low with this style of play after having his 4th base denied a couple of times seems much more like the Lambo who can actually take on HeRoMaRiNE in a best of 5.
Yeah, it definitely does. That being said, we are going to see a very bold move from HeRoMaRiNE. He's got Drilling Claws, no 2-2 for either player just yet, but there's a lot of Marines here. They are very far forward on creep. Oh, Unburrow coming in, but that's going to cost him one of the Widow Mines. Nice split from Lambo. Dodges the other one. That was a pretty good cleanup, but here we have the problem where these rocks are still up, and it's so uncomfortable to try and deal with a Terran army in the middle of the map with slow zones and no way to get around them.
Yeah, that's very difficult to do. But Lambo is actually perhaps even wanting later on, once he has lurkers, which is still a little ways away, he might be wanting some of these more direct engagements, less about being able to travel across the map. Now, you can only stop Terran from doing that so much because we have Medivacs flying around, but hopefully when these Hydras pop too, that'll help a little bit. The Hydras should never actually be able to reach these Medivacs if HeRoMaRinE plays it right, but it's something that's a little more threatening, because you also know that lurkers are now coming eventually. If HeRoMaRinE can't defeat Lambo here, and it doesn't seem likely, those lurkers are going to come in here with their upgrades too. HeRoMaRinE doesn't know there's a hive, but I wouldn't be surprised if the timing in his head is telling them there is a hive.
Yeah, it's... I think that's the kind of thing you have to be prepared for, as we do see now a third factory finishing on up as he gets that 5th command center. We are going to be seeing HeRoMaRinE getting very aggressive on the map. Oh, Lambo is going to be able to dodge those Widow Mines. Oh, it's actually a huge friendly fire Widow Mine. I don't know how Lambo just did that, but he just got a really great connection on his opponent's army. Clears out this Widow Mine in the top side before it can fire. Lambo's in a really, really nice position. He's on 95 drones. This creep spread is still staying far enough forward that he's very safe. I would really like to see him take down these sets of rocks in the middle of the map now that he has such secure map control. But this is a great situation for Lambo.
It is, no doubt about it. It's not over yet for either side, but this engagement actually is looking very promising for Lambo. He comes in from multiple directions. He's going to force the liftoff, which of course means that he has the green light to continue going forward. Widow Mines don't get any hits. Tanks can't really tackle all of those lings. HeRoMaRinE does successfully unload. Now is a concave on top of lurkers. They don't have all of their upgrades quite yet, and this is going to be a pushback from HeRoMaRinE, who holds, but it was a very scary moment for him.
Yeah, but if we take a look at that resources lost, even with the initial engagement right there, it is double in favor of HeRoMaRinE. And that's crazy. Like, that's actually ludicrous, because Lambo has, up until that last overcommitment, was ahead in this game, I would say. It's nutty to me that HeRoMaRinE can do this.
Yeah. I mean, I think it really is important that his army got to be unloaded, you know? Like, if half of it's unloaded and the lurkers are burrowed on his production, like, that could actually be game over. But he was unloaded, he got the concave, he managed to push that back, and Lambo did have a little bit of a less frightening push because his burrow speed wasn't quite done, so he couldn't speed burrow as fast to actually attack, nor could he escape. Now it's done, however, and now it's adding a lot of mobility to the lurkers, as well as survivability. The fact that they can actually try and escape before they get concaved on. We got multiple battles going on across the map, both including some lurkers, both including some liberators, which, I mean, pretty much it's a battle of who can pay attention to the most places the best. And I don't think anyone's necessarily winning that right now.
Yeah, it's so difficult to deal with this. Things can go so badly for you so quickly. This lurker position, nasty to deal with. And he is going to take down the missile turret and potentially the sensor tower, funnily enough, with coincidental splash damage. Meanwhile, on the top side, this drop is going to get pushed back. HeRoMaRinE, oh man, that was such a risky lift, but he managed to make it happen. Meanwhile, during all this, he clears out those lurkers. There are some lurkers and banelings on the top right, which are kind of marooned, but I don't think HeRoMaRinE knows they're there. And now they're going to move in on this base. He's going to try and just bomb it down with banelings.
Yeah, I don't know if the planetary is going to be saved. Of course, the command center can just lift, but the planetary, I don't think it will be. It's not going to be saved. Libera's going to turn around too late. The SCVs do try and come and repair it, but they're going to get sliced and diced just as well as the planetary. And that is a cleanup on a base, but the actual engagement, oh no, HeRoMaRinE wasn't paying attention quite fast enough. He not only wasn't sieged, his army wasn't in a nice concave, so it was all types of bulked up, juicy hits there for Lambo, who takes back a little bit of that map control and, of course, has injured HeRoMaRiNE's economy. Now, taking on a 5th base at this point isn't, you know, game over by any means, but if Lambo can consistently keep HeRoMaRiNE off that base, then it will become a problem.
Yeah, it's actually a really nice situation Lambo's put himself into here. Earned in this game, I would say. And we talked about it. These games between these guys are always so close, so good. We do have both players maxed out. Lambo does start building a bank, while HeRoMaRiNE, he is, well, now he's going to start building a bank, but he was very, very much out of money. Oh, man, I don't know about this. Moving to the middle. The Widow Mine somehow didn't fire there. Lambo, for the love of God, please kill those rocks.
I'm actually really surprised he hasn't gotten around. Well, perhaps the last 2 minutes I can understand why he hasn't gotten around to it. It's been actually very back and forth. But yeah, maybe there's a moment 3 minutes ago where he could have. He might end up regretting it or not, actually. It can actually be a detriment to both races, especially as the Terran becomes more and more, like, single-minded with his pushes. You know, before, when they're dropping every which way, they don't care about rocks, but when it comes to actually getting your tanks sieged up with your Liberators and your Ghosts, which aren't very mobile, to also run around, like, we'll see what happens. Speaking of mobility, another pickup with the medevac. The planetary has been remade to help this defense. A handful of banelings do try and collapse in on it, but there's tanks, there's Liberators, there's planetaries. Not being repaired, however. I think if it actually been repaired from the get-go, it might have lived through this. It is going to be a trade, though, when it comes to the army. The Liberators just kicking ass right now against the remnants of the army as HeRoMaRinE pushes in the bottom side, while also getting rid of the top side. This is where all his ghosts are, so it's actually kind of a weird army when it comes to tackling this many lings. I don't know if HeRoMaRinE's going to stick around to find out how it works. He's not. He lifts up and gets out of there just as 3-3 finishes.
Yeah, that was a crazy, crazy sequence of events that just happened. +3 melee is about to finish up. Do we have personal cloaking for the ghosts? No, that is Banshee cloak, I believe. So no cloak on these ghosts means that it's very dangerous anytime they engage. Liberators have been really, really helpful against these lurkers, by the way. Oh, that lurker. Oh, it reaches the mineral line. Oh boy, that is annoying to deal with.
That's range for you. And actually, speaking of range, the Liberators don't have it, which I think might actually be very useful on this particular map for this exact situation. Maybe in the future when HeRoMaRinE has some more time to think. Right now, it's been about cleaning up and pushing and re-expanding. He's lost 2 planetaries at that gold. He manages to find another one. Another push coming in here from Lambo is going to have to back away. That's a lot of tanks through slow zones as well. And HeRoMaRinE's going to take advantage of knowing where the army is to also push to the top, take out a base potentially.
Yeah, this Bioforce is very low on HP, which means the Lings are enough to get it down before the hatch would have gone down, and HeRoMaRinE, he recognizes that, and he's like, okay, well, load on up. Oh, but these Liberators, they're going to clear out the 2 Hydras on the chase.
Nicely placed again. HeRoMaRinE's actually expanding on location to the top right, but with how this game is going, he may be able to get away with it, but Lambo looking for the engagement, this time with some blinding clouds, really supports the army. It's so desperately needed against the tank count that HeRoMaRinE had brought up. A couple of snipes try to go down, and actually so many ghosts are left over. Oh my god, the Hydra count got slaughtered.
It truly, truly did. Getting absolutely wrecked right there. HeRoMaRinE, this is almost pure ghost right now, and there's enough medevacs that he can lift up in here and keep it alive. Does lose 1 or 2 of them. The mass ling behind this, though, is actually, it's still with no personal cloaking. This is actually very dangerous for HeRoMaRinE to be here.
Yeah, maybe just an oversight. Maybe he actually doesn't think he needs it. I mean, he has actually been low on cash for a while. If you give him another 30 seconds, I think he'll be swimming in it because he's got his gold and he has a top right base. But he hasn't had time to stop and think and get maybe personal cloaking and Liberator range. I mean, he doesn't even have a fusion core, right? So that's really far away from his mind.
Yeah, no. It is hard to kind of catch your breath in a situation like this. Both players are just in such, survival mode right now. And we're going to see, a nice parasitic bomb, but a great split away from HeRoMaRinE. A lot of these Marines are going to get taken out, but with the funny part is once these gold minerals start to get mined out, it actually makes things a lot easier for Lambo because all of a sudden the tanks and Liberators that are set up behind us aren't as well protected. Yeah. So it's kind of self-defeating. It's not like you're not going to mine them there. It's just kind of a funny thing that happens on the map.
Mm-hmm. It really is. That means there's now 2 pathways, or 3, I guess, if the rocks ever get broken down to get to the top right, which are really important bases for HeRoMaRinE, because it's not like he's going to be expanding down south anytime soon. So the battle has moved almost entirely to the north. Lambo is once again set up with some blinding clouds. Not going to be necessary this time around. Just 1 on a tank, maybe some abducts. And the Liberators would have been more helpful as the Hydra numbers are a little bit low, but they eventually get cleaned up as well. All of the ghosts still alive. 18 ghosts still alive. And honestly, not much else here for HeRoMaRinE. It's so ghost heavy.
It really is. He is going to be able to clear up this Liberator. Oh, actually, the Lurker. The one that he targeted, actually, it didn't go down. It must have interrupted all the snipes. What an incredible game we have on our hands, though. It is so neck and neck. it feels like Lambo, it feels like both of them are so close to just winning out. And then the other player makes a great move. Lambo having some really great engagements. HeRoMaRinE with just amazing positioning overall. I am so impressed with both these players. Finally, personal cloaking has finished on up. And that means these ghosts get a lot more survivability.
More potential in them. You can see it happen here. Now Lambo has to respect the ghost cloaking, so he either has to make sure to keep his overseers alive or have a fungal in his back pocket for both the decloak as well as the cancel on the snipe, which so far hasn't really been happening. Only one fungal catching one ghost. Barely the last infestor lives. It's something that he clearly wants to have. So as that gets taken out, 3 more infestors will replace it, but so far not so good. And Lambo does have to worry about his income. He's got plenty of gas to work with, so infestors make a lot of sense, but his mineral income is now basically restricted to this one base. He has to keep this base alive.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to secure it. He just now tries to retake it. This pocket base that HeRoMaRinE has been pushing so much, he hasn't been able to hold it. And now a bunch of reinforcements coming in from HeRoMaRinE. Lambo's going to engage. Oh, the fungal on the ghost. He kills everything. Oh my god, what a connection.
That was a beautiful connection. Most of the ghosts get taken down, but the remnants of HeRoMaRinE's army seems like it's going to be good enough to actually clean up the rest of the Zerg army. A couple more snipes needed to take care of these lurkers, but HeRoMaRinE, he comes out ahead of the army supply, and Lambo doesn't have enough minerals to replace that type of army. He's got 36 slings on the way, but that's kind of going to be it. And HeRoMaRinE, well, if he can capitalize on this, he could take down a base. He actually heads south, surprisingly enough, and will maybe try and take care of this brand new base, but that actually might have given Lambo enough time to get enough units. Yeah, it has. But HeRoMaRinE still comes out ahead. He's got 40 more supply by this point.
He does, and things are very uncomfortable. It is important to note the strength of Lambo's or HeRoMaRinE's army got diminished a lot. Nice fungal growths, but the Lings, there's no Banelings, and Ghosts and Marines do incredible DPS versus Zerglings, and he's going to take them down. Meanwhile, this Liberator finds itself 5 drone kills. Drones aren't really the problem for Lambo. It's where can I mine with them?
This looks like it's going to be the game-ending push. HeRoMaRinE just has consistent mining. He still has some of that gold base and all of the top right, so he could consistently remake these good units, Marines, tanks, and Liberators specifically. Lambo couldn't really do the equivalent. He'd need to be making Lurkers and Hydras, basically, which a little more expensive, a little more difficult to send out one by one as well. What a good game, though. It just is so reminiscent of what we were talking about, though. Lambo doesn't just keel over and die and get 3-0'd, but each individual game has to be watched to see how close, because the end score can often be HeRoMaRinE 3-0.
I feel like... like that was the perfect way that could have been described. Like that was the most textbook Lambo HeRoMaRinE game you ever see, which is so crazy because that came so down to the wire, and oh my god! But like it perfectly sums up what we were talking about. Like what a ludicrous game from these two players. They are just absolutely cruising right now. If Lambo takes that engagement with the fungal growths like a minute earlier, he rolls over HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah.
But like he'd just been pushed so close to the point of breaking that even with that amazing engagement, he still ends up getting eventually wiped out of the game. Mm-hmm. But my god, what an engagement. It
was a beautiful fungal, non-ironically.
Yeah, like that hit like 15 ghosts?
Yeah, it was absolutely... I mean, imagine what would happen if it hadn't hit those ghosts. Imagine how one-sided it would have been at the end of that game. But Lambo, I mean, he certainly knows what he has to do. He can certainly follow the pacing of the overall TVZ, but once again, it becomes that whole story of what we just talked about, where HeRoMaRinE is just a little bit closer to perfect. It's just a little bit better, no matter how much you think you're going toe-to-toe with the guy. He just manages to squeeze out the victory. So he sits up 1-0 in his best of 5. In the bottom left, he is HeRoMaRinE.
And his opponent, showing us why we love him, why we are the Lambros. He tried to go Rambo, just a little shy. Representing Shopify Rebellion, it is Lambo in the red. But man, did he ever put on a show right there.
Yeah.
Oh, God. These players are just... It's actually ludicrous how good they are and how much, like... I'm speechless after a game like that. It's crazy.
It is. It's also just a perfect ZvT, why everyone loves watching the matchup so much. And also, you know, some of Blackburn really coming in both to our enjoyment, but perhaps also to Lambo's detriments. You know, if it was on 2,000 atmospheres, I think Lambo's actually snuck a base that is unharmed, you know, and he still has enough cash in the bank to play out that game. But Blackburn, not only is it maybe less bases, because 2,000 atmosphere also has these half bases in the middle, it's also just a type of map that, like, for the most part, when you're battling each other, you're mostly just battling that one particular spot. It is like butting heads. That's the way the map kind of forces you to go as you both fight over the middle bases. But 2,000 atmosphere is actually a perfect map to end up on for game 2 as the contrast, because it's a wide open map, and if we are going to have a similar late game battle, there's going to be even more battles across the map and even more bases to fight over.
Yeah, it's a it's a lot more, I guess, playmaking with multiple parts of your army. In contrast to, you know, the Zerg strengths of being able to engage from multiple angles, being able to do lots of Baneling run-bys, Terran also has the ability to take advantage of their, you know, medevacs and lots of drop play. And I think we're going to see both players kind of making that adjustment. Wouldn't be surprised to see potentially even a quick Drilling Claws play. Not the super quickest you could see, but a reasonably quick one out of HeRoMaRinE to try and get some of those drops in.
It's been a while since I've seen, like, I guess what is still called kind of the Cure way of playing.
Yeah.
But, yeah, you see a more drop-heavy focus. HeRoMaRinE is going for a more aggressive opener, so he's going to go for the 2-base Hellion Banshee over the third one.
Yeah, it's going to be, you know, a little bit more control, but it also means you want to get a little bit more done with it than you did in that first game. Even though he was able to control the creep, didn't get any economic damage per se, just like couple of drones, I think, with the Banshees at one point, but that was pretty much it. But it's also much better for Banshees on this map. Like, there's a lot more room to maneuver around the bases. It's a little bit more awkward for Zerg to defend. It's also important to note, Lambo went for a very, very quick overload speed here before link speed. And he might have been expecting something cheeky.
Like a fusion core?
Like a fusion core. That was perfect. Man, these players are just serving us off softballs. Just absolutely, they're making the cast easier for us.
Oh no. Oh my gosh, Lambo, please do another scout. Oh, okay, we're good. That actually would have been so deceiving. Because without a tech lab, like if there's a tech lab, there's always a little bit, I think, of like the doubt in the Zerg's minds, but sometimes you see like a 1-1-1 no tech lab, you're like, oh, he's gonna drop me, or maybe like a Hellion build all the Marines, right? But he actually went back in. He saw the fusion core. That only really means one thing. And actually, Lambo's response to grab a Roachborn, I don't necessarily hate it. I mean, it's gonna help defend against the Hellions, which are, funnily enough, often what really makes the battlecruiser build potent. Because the battlecruiser is like, look at me, and then the Hellions come in and kill you.
Yeah.
But, we'll see. And then I guess if it is a mech game, which I don't think it will be, but we'll wait and see. Already being set up to go into like Roach Corruptor would be quite nice. But we're waiting on that one. Actually, 2 gases already in the natural. That's kind of point to mech.
Yeah, these are very quick gases, and mech has been making a return, especially off of some of these battlecruiser openings. I think the first tell will be if we see Yamato come down and more than one BC. That's probably the first big indicator. We are seeing some defensive roaches. Initially, I thought this was potentially going to be like Lambo responding with a Roachborn and trying to go for, you know, like a crazy 2-gasling Ravager all-in and trying to hit before the BCs, but wisely doesn't go for that. The BC would have been out in time, I think, for a responsive all-in.
Yeah, it would have had to have been a little bit sooner than that. So it is going to be to help against the roaches, and then in this particular case, it can also help set up against for a Roach Corruptor push, which, if we recall back to the days of mech being popular, guys, which was 2 years ago at this point, that was actually a very strong option for the Zerg. Get into that a little bit later on. HeRoMaRinE tries to kind of surprise Lambo with the direct battlecruiser teleport on top of the Queens, but Lambo actually had just enough Queens with just enough transfuse energy to not lose a single one. so far so good. And now we need Lambo to actually get that double dip back into the main base. See the Yamato charging up there. And you're right, that is actually one really big indication that it is mech. So is all the factories that are down.
Yeah, that's a nice confirmation as well. And this is an awkward situation right here. Oh, this queen with a fair bit of energy, and the transfuse is going to get picked off before the other queen can get here to save her. And battlecruisers with their heavy armor, it's going to take a long time for these queens to dart it down. And the BC is going to be able to get out of there easily, but finding a queen, it's always nice, especially before Yamato's up.
Nice scan from HeRoMaRinE. Actually does manage to find the Spire's also down, so I think that is a good indication of the whole Roach Corruptor thing that I was talking about. We actually saw, like, because this actually was the build the Terrans were doing before Katowice in 2020. And then mech just like fell off hard for whatever reason. But, you know, we even had the Zerg players default to getting like double attack upgrades, so attack for Roaches and attack for Spire. But, ooh, that Spire being cancelled was a good target from HeRoMaRinE that really delays any of those really potent timings that I'm talking about. And actually, with that cancel, I honestly think that HeRoMaRinE breathes a sigh of relief. I think you don't have to worry about it as much anymore.
Yeah, it's really uncomfortable going up against this. Meanwhile, we're going to have Hellions picking the fight against Roaches, finding 4 of them on their own, picks off 3. For how many Hellions went down? Probably 2 or 3? It's not bad. It's not bad at all. The one thing for HeRoMaRinE that's a little bit uncomfortable is that he has these BCs on the wrong side of the map. Both of them use their teleport, so Lambo might try and take advantage of this and go for a little bit of a push right now. But that would be a bit of a weird it would be a very bold decision.
Yeah, it's not going to work either. There is some credit given to a player who tries to like sneak up on a bunch of Cyclones that were made that often are the defense of the air that battlecruisers need, because battlecruisers themselves will get overwhelmed. So either we have a mech player who goes right into Cyclones to cover it with the mag field accelerator, or we have someone go tanks and engineering bay turrets. What we have right now is HeRoMaRinE kind of, I think, having learned from that era long ago. We have the perfection. We have the defense against the Roaches with early tanks, very safe. We also have the protection against air with Cyclones and missile turrets. So the battlecruisers can live as long as possible to help any Roach floods. Plus the Cyclones can get some damage done with them sharking around on the map, pulling the army back into defensive tanks. Like, this should be the best setup that HeRoMaRinE could possibly get.
Yeah, and the big weakness of mech was that big timing of vulnerability before you have, you know, your 3 bases fully secured, before you can get towards securing a 4th base, before your production is really online. But HeRoMaRinE, he's now survived that. He's on 5 factories. He's adding on his 4th base, his double armory. I'm liking HeRoMaRinE's position here a fair bit, as long as he can survive this push right here, right now. And I think he's well set up to do so.
I think so as well. He even added the 4th battlecruiser, which is kind of what we saw toward the tail end of this meta, was more battlecruisers, more good almost, but instead of just 3, it came 4. Cyclones are going to want to try and get as many lock-ons as possible. The reinforcing tanks are an amazing sign for HeRoMaRinE that he is going to hold. You know, only 2 was maybe a bit questionable, but everything was already going HeRoMaRinE's way, honestly. He has so many units, so much production, and the upgrades in this circumstance that Lambo has, you know, 1 on his Roaches, plus 1 Carapace on his air, I just actually don't think matter as much as it might look, you know, with the mech being in 0-0.
Yeah, it's they're nice upgrades to have. They're good when the fights kind of boil down to smaller numbers. But until that point, the tanks behind a wall, they're going to be able to free fire for a long time, so you're not going to be able to get too much out of them. And of course, the Cyclones don't even need attack upgrades. Oh, and we're going to see a lot of queens getting found here.
Yep. Cyclones only get the attack upgrade when they're not using the mag field accelerator, their lock-on, which they should be doing. Now, this actually is not the best fight for HeRoMaRinE. He loses 2 battlecruisers before being able to teleport out, which is just straight up not what's supposed to happen. And the Cyclones didn't have any of those lock-ons to help protect against the Corruptors, because both the terrain was a bit awkward, as well as the fact they'd already used them on all those Roaches.
Yeah, nice job right there from Lambo to kind of recognize that HeRoMaRinE was a little bit out of position. But that was an uncharacteristic mistake from HeRoMaRinE, and I think this is because he's probably very unpracticed with mech. That's the kind of thing that, you know, you don't make that mistake when you're playing it as much as HeRoMaRinE plays bio right now, and as most players play bio right now. So nice job from here, Lambo, to recognize that, but weird situation. Triple Evo, though, from the server. What do you make of this?
I actually like that. I feel like we did see a lot of this, again, like the before times, when Mech was also good. It's funny, maybe Mech just allergic to COVID. I don't know. But it's coming back, so I guess that maybe is a sign that COVID's also disappearing. Not really, I don't know. There's some connection there. I'll figure it out one day. But the point is, kind of like triple upgrades. And we'll see, I think, more importantly, how those affect the Greater Spire. I don't think we're going to be seeing a bunch of Ling Floods necessarily, even though we also have Adrenal Glands. I think it's also gonna be helpful for the Broodlords, which Greater Spire is almost done. And it will help these Banelings, although I'm not sure they'll get many connections.
Yeah, it's going to be tough unless it's a Battle Mech, but HeRoMaRinE will go Battle Mech as reinforcements. He does have a lot of Cyclones here. Oh, getting a bit of a Corrosive Vial right there. That's a little bit rare. This is... I'm liking how Lambo is approaching it, but I'm still feeling good about HeRoMaRinE's position.
Me too. I mean, it would have been a lot scarier for Lambo if there were still 4 battle cruisers, because the threat of run buys or teleport buys, whatever you want to call them, like, they're substantial when there's 4 battle cruisers. 2 is, yeah, probably better off just hanging with the main army, to be honest. But yeah, I still think that HeRoMaRinE certainly has the push power in him, so that's why he's doing it. He's going to take out a base before the Broodlords are ready. Broodlords against Cyclones is not supposed to go favorably for the Cyclones. You're supposed to get the heck out of dodge and then go into Thors, which is exactly what HeRoMaRinE's got to do.
Yeah, and he's still going to be able to finish off his base at the top left before the army can reposition. He will lose a couple of these tanks, and the Broodlords get a little bit left, but there's not a whole lot that shoots up besides those Cyclones, so yeah, he's not going to be able to do too much. This is a situation, though, where 4 battle cruisers would have been a big problem for the Broodlords. Oh, teleport. Oh, teleport to the right side against an undefended base. That's going to be a lot of dead drones.
Trying to buy as much time as possible as his Thors are barely not out. He's going to need not just the 5 Thors, all of them together, but also to make sure to have something protecting them on the front lines. Usually Hellbats. In this case, it's going to be the Cyclones, which is going to... It's a little awkward. Planetary might just go down as well, something that HeRoMaRinE can afford as long as he can clean up the army. But it's a big question, honestly, because he's also going to be coming in here through his own choke. That makes it even more awkward than usual. The battle cruisers have been cleaned up as well. The Corruptors went and dealt with that. And now it's just down to the Thors. Another base went down, or is picked up, I suppose. But still, end result, HeRoMaRinE needs to beat back this army and get his economy going again.
I do love what he's doing with the mobile part of his mech army. Thors do extraordinarily well against Broodlords. That is part of the reason why players like myself just whine so much about mech. They're so powerful when dealing with Broodlords. And I love this decision from Lambo. He backs off. He has dealt a really heavy blow to his opponent. Knocks out not 1, but 2 bases, really. Technically didn't kill this one, but, you know, denied the 5th. And he's set himself up into a great position. HeRoMaRinE, now he's kind of all in.
He's in a peculiar position. I mean, he's getting an orbital here, so I think he's just gonna have... He's trying to... Yeah, it's basically all in, and then you hope that you're applying so much pressure to your opponent that they don't do any run buys, and you get that extra mule, which you do need. But yeah, it's not a comfortable position for HeRoMaRinE. Lambo did also lose some of his economy, right? He lost the right side base, and he's only recently gotten this upper left base back up and running. So it's not like he was having a lot of time to bank minerals, but he already had banked minerals. So he's still in a fairly comfy situation there, able to afford not just more Broodlords, but also Infestors with Neural Parasite, which really help against the Thors. But I think he needs more.
He does. I think he needs a lot more. He's only got 3 right now. It is important to note as well, only 2-1 on this mech. Normally when we see Thors absolutely dumpstering Broodlords, it's 3-3. The bad armor, not going to be great against these Broodlords, and the lack of +2 attack is not going to be all that powerful. Corrosive Vials will connect on these units. It's going to be Fungal Growth. There's a neural... Did he get a neural? I thought he did, but maybe not. Oh, no? He doesn't have it done.
No, yeah, it wasn't any neural. I mean, this might actually still end up being okay enough for Lambo, even though he was up against so many Thors, because the Thors were all being funneled through a choke, and there wasn't that really nice layer of Hellbats to protect them. It was basically Thors protecting other Thors, which kind of worked, I guess, but This means that HeRoMaRinE has already lost about half of that forward army, the all-in that you were talking about, something we always have to keep in mind. And Lambo could just back away, wait some more, get Neural Parasite, and then take a better fight right here, right now.
Yeah, he will lose this base, which is not ideal, but as long as he saves the drones, he can send them up to this left side base, and it's going to be no problem. Well, actually, I shouldn't say no problem. He's only on 59 workers, so both players are kind of, you know, in a situation where their one big army is really, really important. That being said, oh, these Neural Parasite infestors.
Oh, what?
Oh.
Yeah, okay, no scan available. There it is. The tanks do try and focus fire, but they're not going to get the one that's no parasiting. Plus, just the collapse of the Zerg army is too much. And Lambo will take game 2 and probably deter HeRoMaRinE from ever trying mech again.
Yeah. I think so, and I kind of hope so. That's that was a really, really great game. Make no mistake, like a really, really great game. But definitely the kind of thing that makes you say, "Oh yeah, this is why we don't do this."
Yeah. It's I mean, it did start with the surprise Broodlords. HeRoMaRinE just clearly didn't know. Otherwise, he would have had Thors already producing or even already made. And that would have gone a long way, because I think he could have protected his 4th. His 5th would have been replanted. But in general, Mech has a problem with being, you know, swift, basically. Like, literally, its mobility is an issue. That's basic StarCraft stuff. But then when we talk about the overall pacing of a StarCraft game, that's Mech's biggest weakness. It can get into a good position. It can even be in a winning position. But you can't just go over and kill the guy, because it takes so long to really get secure with mech. You basically have to be maxed out nowadays. 150 was kind of like the baseline for a while, but even then, if you try and push out at 150, you usually get demolished. So, yeah, that's it's something that just the bio can do a little bit better on. You know, if it can't win with the direct push, it does a bunch of drops and still wins that way, right? But mech can't really do that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a tough setup to deal with, generally speaking. Lambo is going to take a little bit of a break here, so I think I might also just stretch my legs a little bit. But yeah, this has been a fantastic series. Also, the decision to go home with the Broodlords, like, that is a mistake that is very simple to think about, or like a very, very simple fix. But the number of times that Zerg players just commit in there and just in that situation lose all their Broodlords and then throw the game is so damn high. Like, it's actually ridiculous how often that is. So just a good decision from Lambo, and I'm glad to see that he made it.
Yeah, also big respect to that as well. I am also going to take
Twitch Prime summit received. Thank you for appeasing the Overmind.
We'll reconvene shortly.
Thank you, Radium Bromide, for the Prime sub. I'm going to be right back, guys. I got myself a cookie. Okay. They're finishing off my Chips Ahoy cookie. The game has apparently begun. Lambo was not BRB for very long. In the top right of Oxide, it is HeRoMaRinE. Bottom left, we have a Lambo. Hello, everyone. See, more people joined in while I was AFK. Huh. Steadfast will be back. Eventually, I assume. So, anyways, till that point, HeRoMaRinE going for an SCV scout. I want to make sure nothing cheeky's happening for Lambo. I wouldn't be surprised if HeRoMaRinE didn't really want to play a bio game on 2000 atmospheres against Lambo, who really put him up against the ropes multiple times on Blackburn, to then give Lambo, I guess, more room to spread out, expand, take engagements, do run-bys. Might have actually been a little intimidating, and it's not something that HeRoMaRinE's, like, not used to. He plays most of 2000 atmosphere maps with bio. It might be something that he was, wanting to experiment with. I want to try and change the pace of the game, change the goals of the Zerg. Not to mention, there is a chance that he would have just gotten a freebie, honestly, with the battle cruiser build. Gotten quick, easy 10, 15 drones killed. Carried on with the momentum from there, right? Because HeRoMaRinE did actually have a lot of things going well for him in the beginning of the last game.
Yeah, he did. He did. By the way, I am back. Thank you for that. Did I miss anything important? I assume no. Doesn't look like anything happened. Zergling got picked off. Super fast third command center. Yeah. Oxide. What do you think of Oxide and ZvT these days?
I still think that it's slightly Terran favored, and more specifically, it's going to be bio favored. HeRoMaRinE, multiple reasons why he wouldn't do mech again on this map, including the fact that it is this map. And I think this option makes a lot more sense. He's going to go into very quick bio 3cc211.
Ooh. You mentioned that quick style that Clem does like to do from time to time. It's good to see HeRoMaRinE mixing that in as well, and I think you hit the nail on the head in game one as well. HeRoMaRinE has gotten fast enough to make this kind of style very, very powerful for him. It's a really strong weapon in his hands. I feel like this style hasn't been as explosive as I expect it to be every time that it comes out. It's still good, though. It's still very good.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing about this 211 is that, it really doesn't hit that much farther away from the 2-base 211. It's like a 30-second difference. So, and with this particular variation of it, like when you actually go into the Hellions. Oh, he actually, okay, yeah. With 4 Hellions, you also get the early game defense and kind of dual-pronged attack thing as well with the 2 medevac drop and Hellions. 4 is not really scary to Zerg players most of the time, but it can get in there and kill a bunch of drones.
Yeah, it's enough to force a response. It's enough to make creep spread a little bit annoying, and it's enough to just be a jerk. Oh, is HeRoMaRinE going to attack the rocks? Well, if he does, he would get that creep tumor. Oh, okay. He's done that in the past, and it's been really, really nice. I do like this play from Lambo, by the way. It's something I've enjoyed a lot recently in general, is a fast single Evo from Zerg, and then you go into like 2-1 upgrades from there. So he's going to be getting a very quick Carapace. It's good against all-ins, and it's pretty good in macro play, too.
Seems like a fairly common response against the 211, which Lambo was able to discover. If this was the 2-base 211, it would have already hit, first of all, but then second of all, it probably would have gotten an even slightly faster evolution chamber. But this will finish not by the first push, but kind of around like the second pair of drops, or the first actual push, I suppose. Because right now it's all drops, it's all drop focused. clearing up creep, distracting the Zerg player, hoping to find, a couple of quick wins. And then later down the road, when the push actually comes, that +1 Carapace will be done. Faster than HeRoMaRiNE's 1-1. Lambo should be very well aware of this. Doesn't quite know where the drop's going to hit. 4th base isn't too much of a surprise. His queens are already there. Really wants to keep this base alive, and it absolutely will be. Those are almost already done. That's a lot of health to take down with 16 Marines.
Yeah, it's well, the other thing to consider is the 2-1-1 that hits here. Because of just how the production works, you can never, I think it's always 14 Marines, so it's even a little bit less, and of course they don't have combat shields, so they don't have that staying power, they can't stick around as long. It's just, a little bit of a misclick right there on the Hellion from HeRoMaRiNE as he tries to run in on the right side. Something, I feel like I haven't seen a misclick from HeRoMaRiNE in a very long time, so that's just kind of funny. I was here moment.
HeRoMaRiNE made a mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I was here when he proved he wasn't actually a god.
Yeah.
Very quick Hydra Den coming down from Lambo. This is very interesting to me. He is on 81 drones, so I suppose in terms of economy, it's not that early on. And he is going to be continuing to cook upgrades and all that jazz. Getting Hydra speed first, I really prefer this too.
I guess when it comes to looking at the clock, 6:30 going to Hydras, especially when Lambo has been playing a lot of very Baneling heavy games, it can look a little fast. But yeah, he's actually already situated well for a Zerg player. 4 bases with his 4th actually finishing when he wants it to finish. All the drones that you'd really expect a Zerg player to have. 5th base might be that next difficult point for Lambo to secure, especially with this creep being cleaned up, and you don't really go to the top left on Oxide for a 5th base as a Zerg player. But he will hopefully by that point also have these Hydras and Baneling speed to support him. HeRoMaRiNE sticking around is a bit surprising. He's kind of wanting Lambo to chase after him off of creep so he can dance around, but actually might have underestimated Lambo, who gets the surround. That's not what HeRoMaRiNE wanted. He wanted to be able to fan out off creep and tackle some of the Lings and Banelings. Lambo just kind of, almost called his bluff to a degree. It's like, yeah, all right, let's take this fight.
Yeah, and I don't think he was expecting there to be so much there and so many Hydras as well. That was a really, really strong move from Lambo. And now he finds himself up quite a bit of supply in this game at a period of time when you expect their supplies to be almost dead even. 30 supply lead. Lambo's going to go for it here. He is going to morph in a whole bunch more Banelings. Going to hit just before the Sensor Tower finishes. But there is a big wall. Oh, the wall isn't actually full. Still, I don't know if I like this move from Lambo.
Yeah, I think it's actually already too far gone. It took too much time to actually hit. He's still going to go for it, though. Another tank pops out. Marines are forced to run away for the most part. They don't get that nice concave. Once again, Lambo, I guess, just actually pushing when HeRoMaRiNE says, nah, you'd never do that, right? You'd never do that, right? It's that mean. Because Lambo actually just pushes and is going for the win, to be honest. SCV is going to get slotted off to the right side. It does leave the army Baneling light, perhaps, but HeRoMaRiNE has never had much splash, and he still doesn't have it.
Oh, and these Marines, they're just barely going to not get fully surrounded, but a lot of them go down. This is such a good situation for Lambo to be in. He finishes up his Hydra speed. He's got that +2 Carapace faster than his opponent has 2-2, so he's actually technically got an upgrade for a little while, upgrade lead. He's adding on Infestation Pit. He's going to start to transition. Would love to see him, take a 5th base just as I say that. This is fantastic play, and Lambo, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. That was such a surprising move to continue moving in, and HeRoMaRiNE once again wasn't expecting it. Lambo is showing up big in this series.
I feel like he's already kind of won the game. I mean, HeRoMaRiNE is going to take a little bit of a chance again, kind of similar to last game where he actually adds on yet another orbital instead of making it a planetary, so he's very, very vulnerable to run-bys, but maybe Lambo doesn't do any, and he can get all 4 mules dropped in one location. It's just, Lambo doesn't have to go for run-bys. He can just go for the main engagements. That's exactly what he's going to do. Baneling's face tanking, or a Marine's face tanking some Banelings isn't usually ideal. And here, HeRoMaRiNE's going to stand his ground and just, I guess, try to force his way through this particular path, but how? There's still a bunch of creep spread. There's still an entire Zerg army waiting for you.
Yeah, this is just a great situation for Lambo overall. HeRoMaRiNE I think he wanted to bulldog through with just 2-2, but now he kind of recognizes, yeah, like you said, there's way too much creep spread. He is going to try and clear it out, but I'm kind of confused because he started building SCVs again, and now he's building another one. He has this this gear that he shifts into sometimes where he'll, you know, really go aggro, just cut SCVs and just see what he can get done. But now he's kind of hemming and hawing between that, building 5 extra SCVs. Not a huge deal, but I would have expected a full all-in. And we are going to see a big commitment here. A lot of units on creep. The Baneling's getting some great detonations, but HeRoMaRinE does still have a lot of army, but there's more Banelings in behind that.
And Lambo's not going to be overrun that easily. 25 Banelings still left over. More probably to come. Either that or Lurkers, because Lambo's got the Lurker again, just waiting on one of those Lurker upgrades. He's going to take the fight on creep with the Banelings he has left over, and it's going to be too much for HeRoMaRinE to handle. Not enough Marines to cover the tanks, not enough tanks to cover the Marines. HeRoMaRinE forced to pull back. He technically has 4 bases, but that 4th orbital is actually still up in the main base, his old 3rd, actually. It's not like his economy's really getting any better, and his army's not getting any better either. He can't even really afford to add on those Marauders that we'd usually see when it comes to having 8 barracks.
He even loses a fully loaded medevac that he just lifted up into. I think Lambo, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, saw which medevac that HeRoMaRinE loaded up into, saw that it was a low HP one, targets it down, takes it down, and that's an extra 10 supply that HeRoMaRinE cannot afford to lose. Lambo. Funnily enough, the army supplies are still very similar at this point, but Lambo is in just such an amazing spot.
The army supplies just aren't really... They can't really be trusted. It's going to be this army supply against that army supply, but then HeRoMaRinE is going to be committed wherever the fight happens, and Lambo's just... He's not. He's going to pull back, rebuild another 90 army supply, and then come again. So HeRoMaRinE's the one that's dedicated. It's this force got to do the entire job of winning this game or nothing. And Lambo is not even going to let him escape his base, coming in here with a couple of Lings and Banelings, just buying even more time for more Banelings, more upgrades, more Lurkers, and his Vipers are now full on energy. You can't do anything against that.
Yeah, it's going to be a real tough time. Picking off that tank from Lambo makes that whole counterattack worthwhile. Lurker will get picked off. Nice job from HeRoMaRinE. But there's so many more behind us. And they have the range upgrade. They've almost got that speed burrow, adaptive talons upgrade. Marines trying to stim in to go for this. Oh, look at that sneaky abduct from a Lambo right there. Very nice little move. Keeps all the Vipers alive. And now it's just pure Marine against Lingbane Lurker. And that is not happening. Lambo finds himself in the lead in a series for the first time in months against HeRoMaRinE, I feel like. Like, absolutely... I am so happy to see Lambo bouncing back after that tough DreamHack Masters.
Yeah, his fall has not gone too well, but it's looking a lot more like the Lambo from summer, the one that defeated HeRoMaRinE, defeated Cyril, and made it to the season finals. Because it's not just the fact that he's winning, which is obviously the most important thing, he's putting the points on the board, but that all the mistakes that we were talking about earlier, his mentality and his literal mechanics that seem to be faltering maybe because of his mentality, like, it's all been fixed. He looks super dominant. He's spending his money, he's getting his creep spread, and the rest he's always had, basically. Like, strategically knowing what to do, he's always had, but there is something stopping him in those early game, mid-game portions that he's fixed at this point, and HeRoMaRinE needs to be scared, because it's not like the game he won was super easy.
No, he had to really, really work for it. And if it wasn't on Blackburn, I think it's probably... Like, if it plays out the same way, obviously, you know, strategic differences would have existed. But if it did play out the same way, I think that would have been Lambo's game. I think it would have been a 3-0, potentially. If it was... Well, maybe not Beckett, but... if it was another map, you know?
2,000 atmospheres.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. This is actually HeRoMaRinE at this point being the underdog, and like an underdog does, he's gonna T-Rex. Wow. Did not think that HeRoMaRinE is gonna be put in this particular position. In the bottom right, sending on an SCV, is HeRoMaRinE.
And his opponent. Will he deal with this strategy? Spawning up in the top right, representing Shopify Rebellion, making a comeback for us all. It is Lambo. In the red. Man, I feel like I hardly ever see this strategy lose in tournaments.
That's what everyone should have been saying after Scarlet lost to it.
To Masa, right? Oh my god. But Masa is just, he's a wizard. Like, he's like, or like a male witch or something, you know? Like, he just has this weird spell on poor Sasha.
Yeah, it is funny. Like, even after all these years, he can still just, like, take a map off for, like, no good reason, honestly.
Yeah,
like, when she
Didn't
lost...
she, like, hard counter it or something?
She did, yeah. She had a speed opening, a gas pool opening. And when she lost her first queen, I actually just started laughing. I felt so bad, but I legitimately just started laughing. I was like, she's gonna fucking lose. I couldn't help it. Because ultimately I knew she was going to win the series. But anyways. It's a pretty strong build if it goes unscouted and unhard countered, which is actually the situation right now for Lambo. Well, so far. His Overlord is headed in the right direction, but appearances will be deceiving. He'll only see the 2 barracks.
And I love this move so much from players when they go for stuff like this. When you hide that 3rd barracks, God, Innovation is, I think, the only player I can remember doing this move. It's so damn good. It is so damn good because the difference between responding to a 2 racks and a 3 racks is gigantic.
Just gonna bypass that Overlord knowing it won't go down anyways, go straight for the bunkers. Some cute little drone pool here was actually trying to block out the predictable bunker situation. Position. Now, of course, using more drones to actually get the cancel on the bunker.
That was a kill.
Yeah, that is just a mistake. I mean, you can still afford the 3 Marines at a time, but as far as another bunker goes, maybe you can't afford that now.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge mistake right there. Now, there's no spine crawlers, and that's going to be very difficult against this number of Marines that will be coming out. And there's no speed either. You need a spine crawler at the very least, I feel. But that being said...
Yeah, well, that surround might actually do well enough. Even without it, I think Lambo might have still been okay. Just the lack of bunker was always going to be an issue. Even 1 bunker to anchor the push is huge. Okay, well, that's a box click going poorly right now. The Overlord does get sniped.
Oh, no. Not like this, please. He doesn't have another Overlord on the way. Okay, he just started it. Oh, God. Oh, if he loses because of that, I'm going to be so sad.
Oh, that'd be so funny. Actually, that is the most evident box select mistake I've ever seen from a professional. Oh, just the hurried, like, let's go. Yeah, I'm not too worried yet, but Lambo is, being hard stuck at that supply and not seeing any lings was a bit worrying when the Marine count was getting up to 6, 7, actually all the way up to 11 at this point before he lost one. But now at 20 lings, I think Lambo was okay.
Yeah, the counterattack was good. We are seeing a factory coming down behind us, and this is very interesting because, okay, he's still continuing to build Marines. 3 drones getting picked off right there. Nice transfuse, but actually the Queen's doing a pretty good job picking off Marines.
I actually kind of like how HeRoMaRiNE's playing this. I mean, it's dangerous, and I would never try it at home, but I mean, basically bullying Lambo as long as he doesn't see speed, and we know that speed's not even on the way. So, forcing Lambo to pull those drones away from the natural minerals, because Lambo doesn't want to put them all the way back up into the main. That's even more lost mining time. And trying to get a couple of cheeky, like, queen kills or ling kills. It's the best use of the amount of Marines that he has, while also keeping them alive to defend any potential speed finishing Baneling bus situation.
Yeah, it's really important to be able to get that. Ooh, Lambo, he was building a spine crawler, but I think he just barely caught a glimpse of the barracks lifting off and flying home. At the very least, he's seen the Marines going home, so he cancels that spine. Great decision right there from Lambo. And HeRoMaRiNE, he's respecting a speed timing that he thinks is probably finishing up right now. It's not done for another minute or so, so that's actually a nice situation for Lambo. He is still down a lot of workers right now, though.
Yeah, he actually, at this point, has overmade lings, which is just, I mean, it's sad to say, right? Like, that's the balancing act of Zerg. You can't produce both the drones and the lings at the same time. And officially, we can say that the lings, while they're necessary, they couldn't just let 12 Marines bully the Queens around. They also were very ineffective without that speed. So now they just look useless. And HeRoMaRiNE, I think a lot of it came down to how he played that post-bunker situation was actually more calculated than I think a lot of other 3-racks players would have done it.
Yeah, it was calculated is a great way of putting it. And now we're going to be seeing the classic post 2 or 3 racks play, that Hellion drop. That is actually one of the, like, just the way that it works out, the builds work out. It's so good. It's so strong.
The Hellion drop seems to almost always get damage done. This is the real, I never see the strategy lose. Right?
Yeah, right? Yeah. Actually, I was going to say it too, but I was like, nah, I'll leave it. But I'm glad you completed part 2 of the meme.
This is going to go into an unscouted location as well. There is an Overlord moving there now, but it's a bit too late. So the Lings, well, not exactly out of position, aren't there as fast as they could be. So that's 1 shot from the Hellions. And they grab 1 drone. That's 2 shots, though. 3 shots. The drones are already split. Yeah, just trying to pick up, go home. 7 drones ain't bad when there's still 3 Hellions left alive.
Yeah, and we got to take a look at the game state, too. HeRoMaRinE may not know this, but he is super far ahead in this game, economically speaking. Just now, as Lambo finishes up, you know, this last set of drones, he's just now taking a worker lead for the first time in this game since the very beginning. And it's like the 7-minute mark, and HeRoMaRinE is going to be going for a 2-base, I believe. He's going to go for a heavily committed 3 racks play with tanks, with some medevacs. Might even get some liberators potentially with this.
Could, yeah, possibly. Just like 1 to distract. It can actually be pretty dangerous. We also usually see 1 engineering bay researching, but I guess with the 2 or 3 racks open, actually, it's a bit more awkward. But, you know, as weird as it is, I gotta go. I am gonna go back to that first Overlord kill. That actually might have really screwed Lambo up. That's so funny.
And it also led to 3 drones dying that probably didn't need to, because Lambo was, I think, a little bit discombobulated. And that was, at that point, that was like, what, 15% of his economy or more? Like, that was a huge portion of his economy.
Yeah, that's actually really, really sad. Oh, Lambo's going to be smacking himself, as I think he is on the way to losing this game. He's got slow banelings and not even that many of them, so he actually has to be very careful not to be targeted down by either the Marines or the tanks. And this is always a brutal position for Zergs too on Lightshade.
Yeah, it's just so many Marines without their combat shields. The tanks are going to be devastating. Lambo, oh man, he's going to be feeling real bad about this one if he can't make it happen. There's no Bane speed on the way. Combat shield's about to finish up. We got Lambo trying to set up a counterattack just before the reinforcements come in. Could be the best situation for him possible, but this is still looking very difficult. Both tanks will get cleaned up, but there's so many Marines and another tank shows up. This is just way too much.
The Banelings can't make connections as hard as they try. They're barely not able to get the sweet connections on top of those Marines. And that is another victory for the 3 racks. Add it to the list.
Throw it on the pile. Oh, man, that's so brutal because Lambo, he scouted it. He dealt with that first bunker very well. He got the surround on those first Marines, really took the sting out of that punch. And then that Overlord goes down. I just, talk about letting the air out of the tires on that one. What a brutal feeling.
Yeah, that's actually just so sad. An Overlord just let too far astray means that he can't make the Lings to protect his drone line at the time, which would have been most beneficial. And actually, you know, if he had been able to make the Lings as fast as he would want to, he probably only makes like 14 instead of 20 as well, because there's less Marines at the time. So, you know, that's saving 3 drones by not letting them get killed. That's saving 3 drones by using the larva for the drones instead. Like, it can maybe all point back to that Overlord dying. That is sad.
Yeah, that is actually like too brutal of a moment. Like, it just, I hope he doesn't get too in his own head about that one, because he's playing such a great series, and this is the first time we've seen Lambo taking maps off of HeRoMaRinE in these weekly cups in, I feel like, a very long time.
He's gonna do it again. In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, he is HeRoMaRinE.
I'll fucking do it again. And spawning up in the top left, representing the Shopify Rebellion. Can he figure it out? It is Lambo. Oh my god. And he's gonna do... Oh, he's doing the cheeky, like, bunny racks. Where you mine out those minerals. Oh, man. First of all, I love so goddamn much that HeRoMaRinE is just going for this. Like, there was such a long period of time where he would never. He just wouldn't ever do that. But now we're seeing him go for it, and it makes me smile to see that he's varying things up a whole lot.
Yeah, there's actually not much that I really talk negatively about HeRoMaRinE anymore. Not that I ever talk negatively just for the sake of it, but I used to be like, oh, maybe he's a little too one-dimensional, maybe he's not as fast, maybe his build orders are a bit older, like, you know, something along those lines. And now it's just like he's on the cutting edge of build order technology. He's got this build going on. He can be as cheesy as the rest of them. He can acknowledge his weaknesses as well. He's not nearly as stubborn, I think, as he once was. He really is becoming quite the all-around player, perhaps at a slower rate than, like, Clem, because Clem's just rise is really one of a kind almost, but he's up there now. And there's the minerals being mined out, so Lambo, he'll probably, I mean, I would say that this is the last 2 racks you expect. There's one that's very much where the Overlord is right now, although he does see the 2 STVs. There you go. And there's one behind the bridges, but now he knows where it is. He's also going to lose the Overlord.
It's going to be a little... Oh, that's such a forward or, like, back bunker. And that's going to mean drone pull is very ineffective against this. Oh, that Overlord. Yeah, it will go down. Damn. Lambo, no. Oh, he needs 2 Overlords now.
Lambo in the calls, feeling pain. If the Spine Crawler finishes, I think that once again Lambo will be in a workable situation, but HeRoMaRiNE's got something spicy behind this. He's got Reapers on the way, so it's not really about busting the fronts. It's about distracting the fronts and getting the Reapers in as well. So SCVs, or rather drones, sorry, drones are going to go down. And it's a matter of how many, and I guess whether or not he can actually clean up the Reapers.
Yeah, and I actually wouldn't even mind, like, quite a few Reapers, like 5 or 6 Reapers. I think that'll actually be a really, really cool move. If he's seen... Okay, if he can count the gas. If he can count the gas, he should go for so many Reapers right now. Like, actually, I think 6 is the magic number, because that's how when you one-shot drones, one-shot lings.
Yeah,
he's going for 3, which is still a good number.
It is, yeah. I mean, I think he can't really see how much gas has been taken. He might have done this follow-up. Well, first of all, he probably did the 2 racks.
No.
Oh, not again. Not again. No.
Okay.
He probably did the 2 racks instead of the 3 racks to you know, make Lambo have a heart attack. Then he follows up with the Reapers, maybe because he checked out the build order of the last game, at least enough of it to see that, okay, speed is actually quite late, plus he just would have seen it in the game. And that type of strategy, actually, I can see how it would really capitalize. It hasn't so far here. As cool as the strategy is, as much as I'm connecting the dots here, it's actually been fine enough as a whole goes for Lambo, just aside from the Overlord.
Yeah, I would say it was the Creep Tumor was actually the big turning point of this, and the Spine Crawler, of course, finishing up, getting into a great position. This is just fantastic stuff, and now Lambo's going to go 2-base Muta behind this, I think. HeRoMaRiNE, he's gone very, very fast 3rd command center. He is on 2 barracks instead of 3. What do you think about this? I like the concept of it, but I feel like it's going to be very easy to read for HeRoMaRiNE.
There is that. I mean, the Reapers, all I have to see is like this additional gas in the natural, if they could get there, which I don't think they will, to be fair. And even if they saw the second gas in the main, and the lair, of course, like, I think you put those 2 things together. Plus, the Baneley Nest is also just that little extra, like, yeah, definitely a Spire, man. Could be the coolest fake of all time if it actually was Roche's and Nidus Worms, but either way, HeRoMaRiNE doesn't look like he's going to be scouting it. The reason that I'm not really necessarily a fan of the 2-base Spire is just the, I don't know if he'll get enough momentum. HeRoMaRiNE actually did go back with all of his barracks. So he's missing the scouting, but he has the protection. And it's not like he was first and foremost afraid of a counterattack, so that he's been building 6 Hellions, then a command center. He actually has 3 command centers already done as orbitals. So I'm not sure this is actually going to do as much as Lambo was hoping, and it really is about, like, the first punch and then suppressing the Terran from that point with the threat of mutas. I don't know how much HeRoMaRinE will be suppressed.
Yeah, that's another good point. Is it's about getting momentum with it, and it is going to be tough to do so. Scan did come down in the natural, saw that it was double gas already taken. Oh, and now this Reaper's going to get into the main base. That is going to... Oh, will it get the... No, he didn't get the scout. He saw the Baneling Nest, but he didn't see the Spire.
I feel like he knows...
But he sees all... Yeah, he sees all 4 gases. Never mind. And he sees the Baneling Nest wiggling. Yeah. That should be enough.
Yep. As far as the timing, it's going to be a little off. I mean, first of all, 2-base mute is not very popular, but then because of the 2 racks. So maybe HeRoMaRinE is going to get missile turrets like faster than he needs to, whatever, like being very overly critical here. But he's going to get missile turrets.
Big deal, right? Like it's
not a big deal. It is missile turrets, baseline, they're necessary whenever they do come down, and then he's got Marines already. It's not like he can't go out and push, actually. He knows not a lot of creep spread, and he can even cover his Marines a little bit with the Hellions if Banelings really are still very fearful and be afraid of. I don't think they really are.
That being said, Lambo did drone very, very hard with all of this, so it's just I think he's just playing Mutaling Bane. Like it's technically 2-base Muta, but it's not like he, stayed on 54 drones or 44 drones even. Like he got up to 66 drones and 6 gases very quickly. So he's actually in a great spot in this game in terms of like income and just general positioning. It's just the lack of creep spread and the later upgrades that are going to be a problem for him. But with Mutiling Bane, if you have, enough of an army advantage, sometimes you don't need creep. Sometimes you can just run over an army with just sheer numbers.
That's true. Sometimes you can. It's not convinced it's this game. I do think HeRoMaRinE losing the Hellions like that was unideal. The Hellions could be lost now as he pushes and tells him where the mutas are, or again, they could help the push itself. But he is still going to do the push. Like, they still scouted again that creep spread really isn't that impressive. And even if, the expectation is that Baneling Speed will be done with this build. The scan is there, the scout was there. As long as you stay off creep, the professional Terrans anyways, not me, the professional Terrans can usually control this fairly well, but actually kind of feeling like Lambo's lack of meter harassment might mean a big swell is coming. HeRoMaRinE's already backing away. It was actually very good game instinct, and an excellent Reaper grenade that just popped all the Banelings away. The surround was going to happen, the Banelings were going to connect, and the Reaper just saved the day.
That was actually a game-saving Reaper, I think, for HeRoMaRinE right there. And now these queens, what are they doing here? They are just... Oh, God, that's 2 free queens right there that Lambo does not want to lose. That was one of the clutchest grenades we will ever see in professional play.
Damn, and that's including some of, like, Gumiho tactics when he was going Mass Reaper when he used them as part of the army. I don't think I've actually ever seen him do that impactful. That was so sick. There's a lot of Banelings left over, and there was a little bit on creep, too, so HeRoMaRinE getting a little overzealous, backs away behind his Widow Mines, but, at the same time, as that was happening, his little overstep, there was also some miscontrol back at home. He didn't repair the missile turret, or maybe not fast enough, so he loses 12 SCVs, but it looks like the mutas aren't going to be able to actually snowball any much more than that, and you still have this big army to defend, and Lambo running into a Widow Mine field just lost, 60% of that ground army?
That is kind of rough. That being said, 1-1 is going to finish up for Lambo. He does have the ability to clean up these Widow Mines. That's no Widow Mines left with the army. And 1-1 finishing up just as he engages on in here. Decent little split from HeRoMaRinE. Goes for another grenade, but Lambo says, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, won't get fooled again.
It's actually some impressive play from both of them. Lambo, until you have a decent number of mutas, or real threatening numbers, like 14 plus with +1 flyer, and that was like one of his first upgrades. You're kind of in like a peculiar position, because then you're also like, okay, do I have enough Baneling to defend? How much gas am I going to be putting into either one of these units? As for the Terran, yeah, you got to be kind of careful about those surrounds, dealing with 2 things at once, both offense and defense, and they both are playing a very tight game. Lambo's going to use whatever creep he can to try and take on this army, but he quickly runs out of it, and that's a lot of Marines left over, but clears out a lot of the Widow Mines and still has Banelings left over. He should be able to hold on to this base, and HeRoMaRinE is going to be playing with fire by going back on a creep against that. Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe back away right now.
Yeah, that was a little bit bold. Only 2 Widow Mines left with this army. One of them will get picked off. Oh, he does the stack, but it's in range of the Widow Mine. So it goes off and just does a ludicrous amount of damage to those mutas. Of course, they'll regenerate back up. It's only 1 kill, but God, does it ever hurt to see that much damage? And actually could be relevant in this fight.
The Hero Reaper finally died. I'm so sad. Maybe it died for a good cause, though. HeRoMaRinE is continuing to push forward, abusing this choke, abusing the fact that Lambo never had time to break down the rocks. This game has actually been very close for the entire 11 minutes, and that is actually ended in this problem, which is the rocks. It's always been a problem with Romanicide, and it's a big one right here. Thor's going to get taken out with the magic box, but still did a lot of damage to the mutas. Still was on the front lines to guard against the banelings. There's still so many Marines left over. Lambo, he can't get creep spread down, he can't break the rocks, and he can't get a run-by going to give himself a breathing room.
No, he cannot. And 2-2 now finishes up for HeRoMaRinE. Lambo forgot his +2 melee. So even when that +2 carapace for Lambo finishes up, he is still going to be at an upgrade disadvantage for a long time. The lack of creep is a huge problem. This choke is so brutal to deal with. No creep spread, no chances. He's going to try and roll in with the banelings. The Thor doing an excellent job tanking a huge Widowmine shot on top of those mutas, lings, and banes. And that is going to be HeRoMaRinE pushing it on top of this 4th base. We've got a lot of mutas still alive, but they're so low on HP. Drones getting pulled, never what you want to see. And I think HeRoMaRinE is going to be able to overwhelm, but it's so close.
It really is. The drone pull is usually a terrible sign for the Zerg. In this particular case, it's actually just barely going to be enough to push back the rally. Lambo, even going across the map with drones would have been quite the charge, but does pull back. Is going to take that moment to breathe, but it is just a moment. At the end of the day, pulling drones against a Terran player is bad news. You're in deep shit, and it's not really getting any better because the rocks still aren't broken down.
No, they're not. And we got HeRoMaRinE rallying forward with more units. Oh, that Thor doing such a good job of body blocking the Lings. Lings actually were put on hold position. Oh, another example of the box micro getting shown right there. That's a little bit unfortunate for Lambo. And finally, HeRoMaRinE is going to break through. Nice Baneling connection, but it's not going to be enough. What a great series between these two. But HeRoMaRinE ultimately does take it down in the end.
Yeah, it's so sad though. It's like, it's so familiar. This time the score represents the overall games, but yet again, Lambo